This is Dan Pastorini. You're watching Bring the Pain Sports.
Hey folks, it's Mitchell Brock coming to you live here from Super Bowl 56 here on Radio Row. Bring the Pain Sports after further review. I am joined by the Great Sports Morpheus, Richard Walker, as always.
One and only.
And we have a very special guest that has taken the time to join us today. We have legendary agent, Mr. Leigh Steinberg. How you doing, Mr. Steinberg?
I'm doing just great. I mean, I'm honored to be surrounded by Morpheus.
So, what brings you down to Radio Row today?
Well, you know, I grew up in Los Angeles, and my dad took me to the Ram games. We sat so high up in the $1.50 seats back in the 60s that you would have needed a telescope to identify the players from where we were. And then in '94, when the Rams were going to leave Los Angeles, I headed the committee to save the Rams. And it was me and the head of Disneyland, and we fought really hard to keep them here. So it's really gratifying to see the Super Bowls back in our city. The Rams are back in our city.
All the Rams fans out there remember losing the team to St. Louis.
Right.
And going through everything, the stadium challenge,
right.
Actually lost two franchises.
Right, we lost the Raiders.
You lost the Raiders,
right.
And then actually kind of three because you had the franchise that was awarded, which eventually became the Houston Texans.
That's right.
So I know you were influential in helping to bring that back.
Right, and we fought real hard to do that. So that's great. And so the Super Bowl's become the convention of Americana, right? Big Absolutely. Business, big sports, big politics, and we throw a Super party on Saturday. This is my 35th, and we're at Sony Studios. Now, 30 years ago, when it was last year, we did a party at 20th Century Fox, the back lot, which was the Hello Dolly set in Old New York. Wow. And this time we'll be there. So we do things like a brain health summit where we try to tackle the issue of concussion and bringing prevention awareness and cure. We're going to be showing new modalities like hyperbaric oxygen and stem cells off at the party. And our community cause is called the Lantern Network, which is a foundation that helps inner city kids with their business careers.
Okay. And ironically, you know, we're former players as well. We didn't play NFL, but we played minor league, we played arena football. We both played football for upwards of 20 years. So although we weren't NFL players, the brain injury thing is definitely something that we're interested in taking part of, because people think the focus is NFL players. What about guys who may not have reached that level? You know what I mean?
Football's a collision sport, and every time two linemen hit together, it produces a low-level subconcussive event, a little bit of chain. So everybody focuses on the quarterback or running back, but even the line actually has a higher rate of concussions than anybody else. And what we found, we've had 17 conferences, is that 3 or more concussions raises an exponentially higher rate of Alzheimer's, ALS, premature senility, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and depression. And so I've been looking for cure, a way to rehabilitate a concussed brain, but we don't know how many people are walking around this society, whether they were AWS soccer players or played football at another level, who have this damage and simply don't know they have it.
So I'll be transparent here, and this is the first time I've actually said this publicly. He doesn't even know this, and he's one of my closest friends. I have an annual physical every year, and my annual physical last year actually showed signs of TBI. Not necessarily CTE, but from the scans, they said, "Have you had a traumatic brain injury?" I said, "No." She says, "Well, it looks like you have." I told her I played 16 years of minor league football. She said, "That's why."
See,
I'm affected by this.
And because you're an athlete, you were in the same denial that everyone else was. So that if you, a normal, ordinary human being would be so much more protective. But if you grow up with Pop Warner in Little League, you accept that real men play with a herd and real men play, and you might not have any idea that you had multiple subconcussive events, and they added up to what the physical showed, but it wasn't diagnosed. You weren't held out, and you just felt stunned.
When we were coming up, it was getting your bell rung.
Right.
So we actually did an entire show on our regular show about CTE when the movie Concussion came out.
Right.
We did a full show about it, and during my research, I found that every time you got your bell rung, you actually had a concussion.
Right. And you did brain injury, and then the concussive hits add up. So that the good news is we've found some help. There's biofeedback, there's a new process which is stimulation of the brain called RTMS. There's hyperbaric oxygen. We have some ways, because the brain can become resurgent. It's got the ability to heal.
That's great news. That's exciting to hear.
Yes.
And it's really a strong message that comes from you being an agent, because I'm going to be politically incorrect here. You have an incentive actually to the opposite, because let's be honest, football is a violent sport. We know it, and that's what attracts people to the sport. They like that gladiator type mentality that comes with the sport. So the balance is, how do we make the sport continue to be interesting and at the same time have a focus on preventing traumatic brain injuries? You're right in the middle of it, but you have an incentive to look the other way, because you're looking out for the best interest of your players that you're
No, but that's not really my job. My job is to care about the long-term health and the long-term interests of the player. I had a crisis of conscience back in the 80s, 90s. We had players representing half the starting quarterbacks. We had players who were hit in the head, and we'd go, what's the magic number? They couldn't tell us. And so I couldn't have stayed doing this unless we were working really to try to deal with the problem and the issue. And you grow to care. I saw Warren Moon running around here, and Warren and I were together for 23 years. He played 6 in Canada and 17 in the NFL, and you grow to really care for those people.
So I went back and started doing the math about my own career, high school, college, and minor league and arena football. I know for a fact now that I've had 4 concussions. I know that for a fact now. One of them was the first one was in high school. So it goes that far back. There was a study that they did on 100 deceased football players from high school all the way.
I saw that
to
study.
minor league.
Yes.
99 out of 100 had CTE.
So the point is, before you get to CTE, there are plenty of these modalities you can do, and you can get active. And I can tell you a number of places you can go to get the help, and it doesn't ever have to happen.
Yes, awesome. So, do you have anything, Rich? We don't want to hold you up.
I just want to say, on behalf of everyone that has ever played the game in any way, shape, or form, your activism in regards to this, I can't thank you enough. I reemphasize just how important it is, and how we overlook the issues that come with the traumatic brain injuries that are a byproduct of this sport. And for you to take a strong stance, I think, sets the door for others, especially as agents and as you looking out for the long-term interests of the player. Because selfishly speaking, we only look at the guys when they're on the field, and then we forget about them once they take the pads off. Long-term is what we need to focus on. Your focus in that area, I think, speaks volumes. So we applaud you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, folks, we have not this time.
We know he's very busy, but we will see him at this party. Right?
There you go.
Absolutely.
That's the we'll see you
at the party Saturday, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh, that was a question. I see. I'm a little slow on the uptake. Talk to Liz.
We will definitely talk to Liz. Mr. Steinberg, thank you so much for your time, man. We appreciate you. All right. We're going to take a quick break, folks, and we will be right back. And we've got another very special guest for you guys. I ain't going to tell you who it is. You know why? Because you got to come back and you got to watch. We'll be right back.